Green beans are coming on like gangbusters in my garden. This is just one picking. And if you're anything like me, I'm going to have lots and lots of green beans. And I already have lots of green beans in my freeze-dried inventory. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you an option of what you can do with green beans rather than just freeze drying them as they are. And there's nothing wrong with just having regular green beans in your inventory just as they are. But I'm going to give you an option of one of the things you can do with green beans. Now, green beans can serve as a component to cooking in future dishes. But I would like to present to you that perhaps instead of using green beans as a component, why not use green beans as a meal? Because that might be a little bit easier and a little bit more nutritious if you can just have green beans as a ready-to-eat meal. What I'm going to present to you today is one of my favorite recipes. It's stir-fried green beans with Szechuan sauce. It's a Chinese recipe, and it's one of my favorites. And we're going to just do that with the green beans, but also we're going to take this one step further and actually make a meal out of it. So the first thing is, there's two ways you can do green beans. First of all, of course, you have to snap off the peel, but do you want to eat a green bean like this, or do you want to break it into smaller pieces that are a little bit more bite-sized? Now, a lot of times when I go to a restaurant, they'll put a green bean like this on my dinner plate. And it probably looks a little bit better having this long green bean, but usually you have to cut it into smaller pieces because trying to shove this into your face is a little bit more difficult than having something like that. So which do you prefer? That's kind of hard to say, but I kind of like to have something a little bit smaller than something like this. This looks a little bit more fancy. This is a little bit more practical, but I guess it comes up to personal opinion. And I never have liked these little pieces, these little sharp pieces in a restaurant that kind of look a little bit sharp, but I kind of like to snap those off anyway. So I need to go through all my beans here and snap them, take off where the flour used to be, take off the stems. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be right back with you, and then we're going to go ahead and start our recipe. Ingredients to make our stir-fried green beans with Szechuan sauce will consist of 1 pound of green beans, and then we have 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. Now this soy sauce is a little bit different, my wife being gluten-free and all, but this soy sauce is a soy sauce that Kroger or Smith's carries, and this does not contain any wheat. And because it doesn't contain any wheat, it's gluten-free. A lot of soy sauces contain wheat. This one does not. So we have 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. We have 2 teaspoons of chopped garlic, and we have 1 teaspoon of sugar. We have 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, and we have 2 teaspoons of chili paste, or you can use chili sauce or hot sauce if you don't have anything else. This just kind of provides a little bit of heat. And then we have a 1/4 cup of chicken broth. And then as an option, not everyone has this, but this is 2 tablespoons of toasted sesame seed. And then for the wok, we have 1 tablespoon of oil. So I'll go ahead and post this recipe at the end of the video so you can pause the video, take a screenshot, and have the recipe for your own purpose. So to begin this with, we have a hot wok, so we're going to go ahead and add our vegetable oil. And we want to coat the wok all the way around. On the sides, on the wall, everywhere. We want to bring that up to a nice hot temperature. It's nice and hot. We want to add our green beans, and I went ahead and cut those into short little pieces rather than keeping them long. And we just want to go ahead and stir those around for 1 minute. After 1 minute, we want to add our 1/4 cup of chicken broth. Then we want to cover that for 5 minutes. Okay, we're at the end of our 5 minutes. So these are our green beans. Now it's time to add the rest of our ingredients. So we have the soy sauce, and we have the garlic, and we have the sugar, and the chili paste, and the sesame oil. And we're just going to put this, stir this around just for a couple minutes here. And we're going to turn off the heat. And then we can't forget the sesame seed. So now you have just one alternative way of putting up your green beans. Now, so this is stir-fried green beans with Szechuan sauce. So this doesn't have to end here. You can go ahead and let this cool down and go ahead and freeze dry this and add this to your freeze-dried inventory. But you don't have to let this end here. You can go ahead and continue and turn your green beans into a meal with the next step. All we need to do to turn this into a meal now is, well, we can fry up a little bit of chicken breast seasoned with salt and pepper. Add some rice. And just a little shot of soy sauce. And now our green beans have been turned into a meal that we can now freeze dry and enjoy this into the future. And if you don't prefer chicken, well, we can do the same thing with beef. So if you don't like chicken or prefer something else, how about beef? So I had a small steak in the freezer. So let's put some diced steak in here. Along with some rice. A little bit of soy sauce. And we have our second alternative to our string beans. So we have beef, rice, and string beans for our other alternative meal. And let me tell you, this stuff tastes pretty good. So if you're like me, where you have string beans coming on like gangbusters, and you want to know if there's something else you can do with string beans other than just freeze drying them, well, I want you to try out these recipes. I think you'll enjoy them, your family will enjoy them. And if you don't want to freeze dry them, just try them as is, fresh off the stove. These are my two variations of stir-fried green beans with Szechuan sauce. I have this with the chicken and rice, and this with beef and rice. Each recipe takes 1 pound of green beans. So if you're like me that have green beans coming on like gangbusters right now, this is a good way of taking care of all those green beans. So if you want to do something with your green beans other than just putting them into your freeze-dried inventory by themselves, you can try the stir-fried green bean recipe with Szechuan sauce by themselves, or you can turn it into a meal and have a really good tasting MRE in your inventory for future events. It's a simple and a very tasty recipe. Chinese cooking, Chinese recipes are really good when it comes to freeze-dried food. In my case, most of these recipes are gluten-free, so my wife can enjoy them, and they're easy to make, and they're full of flavor. So I hope you'll try these. If you do, give me some feedback. Tell me what you think about them. I'd like to thank you for your time, and I will do another video soon. I think it's important to concentrate on complete meals like this rather than just doing component freeze drying. Component freeze drying is still important, but I think having complete meal in your inventory is a very important thing to have. But anyway, once again, thank you for viewing. I'll send you another video soon. And as always, go forth and freeze dry the world.